the goal for this lesson is to learn about absolute value. So the first set of instructions that this worksheet is giving us is to mark a point at both 5 and -5 on the number line below. So if I do that, there's 5, I put a point right there, and -5. Well, here's -5. Then they're asking us to describe what you notice to be the difference. Well, this one, -5, is negative, and +5 is positive. Anything else about these two numbers that's different? Let's see if I can focus this. They will have some similarities, though, which is what absolute value is all about. So we're going to keep going. The absolute value of a number is the distance away from 0 on the number line. So if we go back up here, the similarity is that here's 0. They're both 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from 0. Absolute value is all about how far away from 0 is it. So the absolute value of -5 is red, the absolute value of -5. So whenever you see those two vertical lines with a number inside, that is the notation for absolute value. Now, number 1, use the number line to determine the absolute value. Here's -8. I'm going to circle 0. The absolute value of -8. Here's -8. How far away is it from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The absolute value of -8 is 8. Then we have -1. Here's -1. The distance between 0 and -1 is 1. 3. 1, 2, 3. So the absolute value of 3 is 3. -4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5 would be right in between. So the absolute value would be 4.5. And 6, here's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what you should notice about absolute values, if you see a negative sign in here, they're always going to be positive because we're talking about distance. We can never have a negative distance, so absolute values will always be the positive versions of the numbers inside. And if they already are positive, just keep it the same. Now number 2 says write the absolute value to describe the situation below. Let me try to speed this up a little bit. New Orleans is 8 feet below the sea level. So if we go below the sea level, below is one of those words that indicates negative. How far is it below the sea level? Well, it's 8 feet below the sea level. Mr. Simpson owes $563 on his credit card bill. He owes. So how much does he owe? He owes $563. I did a negative here because he is in debt. So he's actually below 0. And how far below 0 is he? 563. So we go to the second page. Absolute values can be inequalities. And remember, inequalities are less than, greater than, equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Those are the inequality symbols. So compare the following absolute values. 4. The absolute value of 2.5. Well, guess what? That's the same as the absolute value of -2.5. They're both the same distance. If it helps you, you can write the absolute value below. So just think of negative, the absolute value of -3 9/10 is the same as 3 9/10. Is that less than, greater than, or equal to 4? Well, that's less than. Okay. 6 1/4 versus the absolute value of -7 8/10. So again, I'm just going to write 6 1/4 and 7 and 8/10. Well, I know 6 is less than 7, right? So I don't even need to look at those fractions or decimals. The absolute value of negative 16/4. This is an improper fraction that can be simplified to the absolute value of negative 4. And the absolute value of negative 4, remember, is always a positive. So it's 4. And the absolute value of negative 3 and 9/10 is 3 and 9/10. Well, 4 is greater than 3. Okay, number 8. Negative 24, negative 18. These are not absolute value numbers, so if it helps you, you can write a number line. So over here I'm going to have negative 30, and over here, because we're getting closer to 0, it's negative 15. So I know negative 24 is closer to 30, and negative 18 is closer to negative 15. So negative 24 is actually less than negative 18. Oops, kind of went out of focus. Let me focus that again. There we go. And now I have the absolute value of negative 24. Again, you see those absolute value symbols, just write the opposite if it's negative. And the absolute value of negative 18 is 18. So 24, we all know that's greater than 18. What do you notice about problems 8 and 9 above? Well, negative 24 is less than negative 18, and 24 is greater than 18. When we go negative, that's my symbol for negative. When we have negative numbers, the greater number is actually smaller or less. So if we just look at 24 and 18, we know that 24 is greater than 18, but because of these negatives in front, they're actually getting smaller. They're getting closer to negative 30. Well, this one's getting closer to 0. And you can use the number line handed out in class to help you with that one too. Practice finding the absolute value by answering the questions below. Negative 16. Again, the distance is 16 from 0. See if I can refocus this. Find all values of x where x equals 11. Negative x equals 11. Or I'm sorry, the absolute value of x equals 11. Well, I could have negative 11 and I could have positive 11. They're both 11. They're both the distance of 11 from 0. Number 12, find all values of x where x equals 7/8. So again, you're going to write negative, so the absolute value of negative 7/8 and the absolute value of positive 7/8. 13, find all numbers with the absolute value of 150. Well, I can write the absolute value of negative 150 or the absolute value of a positive 150. The absolute value of 8 and 9/10 is the same. Still going to be 8 and 9/10, the distance of 8 and 9/10 away from 0. 15, find two numbers who are 25 and 6/10 units away from 0. Well, actually, I don't even need the absolute value here. You can just write negative 25 and 6/10 and 25 and 6/10. They're both the same distance away from 0. Here's the challenge. So what I'm going to do, negative of the absolute value of negative 39. So the first thing I'm going to do is change absolute value of negative 39 is 39, and I still need to drop down that negative. The absolute value of negative 44 first, I'm going to do that, add 5, and I get 49. 50 minus the absolute value of negative 18, 50, keep the negative. I can change this. The absolute value of negative 18 is 18, and that would be 38. And then just take a couple minutes and summarize today's lesson. We learned about absolute value, so tell me what absolute value is, and maybe touch on a little bit on equalities. After you do that, the homework is attached to this, so feel free to get started on that.